What if you could delegate all your most tedious coding tasks to a team of autonomous AI agents, and you just focused on the big picture? Well, that's not science fiction anymore. It's the promise of Google Antigravity. Today, we're doing a complete guide on this incredible tool, which is all about a huge shift from AI just assisting coders to creating a world that is truly agent-first. Look, if you're a developer, you know this feeling. The constant context switching, the mental drain of juggling a dozen different tools, and just the sheer amount of boiler code you have to write. It's exhausting, right? It's a massive drag on actually getting creative work done. And that is the exact problem Google Antigravity is built to solve by completely changing the relationship between you and your computer. So here's our flight plan for today. First, we're going to dig into what anti-gravity actually is. Then we'll explore its really cool dual interface. After that, we'll see exactly how these agents get work done, and, this is the fun part, how you can teach them new tricks. Then we have to talk about a critical security warning you absolutely need to know. And finally, we'll zoom out and ask, what does this all mean for the future of code?
All right, so let's get right into it. What exactly is this thing? Well, to understand its vision for an agent-first future, we kind of have to look at its past, which, believe it or not, is surprisingly playful.
Okay, so the name Google Antigravity has this wild history. It actually started way back in 2009 as this little Easter egg in Chrome, where all the elements on a web page would literally just fall to the bottom of the screen. It was just a bit of fun. But fast forward to today, and that name has been brought back for something way more powerful, a full-blown AI-driven development platform. And let's be really clear here. This is not just another fancy autocomplete. Antigravity is an agentic platform. What that really means is you're not just getting suggestions, you're delegating entire tasks to AI agents that can think for themselves. They can plan, they can act, and they can test their own work across all your tools. We're talking about a shift from AI as a co-pilot to AI as an autonomous specialist on your team.
So if you're going to build a tool around this agent-first idea, you need a totally new kind of interface, right? Anti-gravity isn't just one screen, it's two completely different ways of working. And honestly, understanding this duality is the key to unlocking its real power.
All right, so anti-gravity basically gives you two ways to play. On one hand, you've got the editor view. Think of it like your familiar cockpit, a top-of-the-line IDE, kind of like VS Code, for when you want to get your hands dirty and write code yourself. But where things get really interesting is the manager view. You can think of this as your mission control, a high-level dashboard where you command and control multiple AI agents all working for you in the background.
Yeah, this manager view is your command center. You can spin up an agent to migrate a database, while another one writes integration tests, and a third one refactors an old service, all at the same time, all working in the background. You could just flip between the views with a keyboard shortcut. The whole system is designed around this idea of trust but verify. The agents do the work on their own, but you're always in charge and you always have the final say.
Okay, so we've seen the what and the where. Now for the how. How does an agent actually take a high-level request from you, like add a dock mode toggle, and turn it into real working code? Every single agent follows the same core loop. First, it makes a plan, breaking down your request into small logical steps. Then it starts to execute, writing code, creating files, running commands in the terminal. And this is crucial. It then tests its own work, often by literally opening a browser to see if the UI looks right. Finally, it reports back with what it calls artifacts, things like screenshots, videos of it working, or code diffs, so you can see exactly what it did.
And these agents are seriously capable. They get full access to your editor, your terminal, and a built-in Chrome browser. Basically the exact same toolset a human developer would use. By default, they're powered by Google's Gemini 3 Pro model, but you can swap in other models too. And yep, it works on pretty much any machine you've got, Mac, Windows, or Linux.
Now, an agent straight out of the box is a pretty powerful generalist. But what happens when you need it to follow your team's specific coding style or use a custom tool that only you guys have? Well, that's where customization comes in. Anti-gravity gives you three main ways to teach your agent. You've got rules, which are like always-on guardrails. Think of your company's style guide. Then you have workflows, which are basically saved prompts for tasks you do all the time. But the most powerful of all are skills. A skill is a special tool that the agent itself decides to use when it thinks it's relevant. This is super smart because it prevents context bloat. It keeps the AI from getting confused by only loading the knowledge it needs right when it needs it. And that right there is why skills are such a game changer. They are what turn the agent from a generic coder into a genuine specialist for your team. It becomes an AI that knows your specific security protocols, your deployment process, and your best practices. It's not just a tool anymore, it's part of the team. Okay, So this ability to give an agent autonomous access to your entire system is unbelievably powerful. But we have to talk about something serious now, because with that kind of power comes some pretty significant risks, and it is critical that we talk about security.
And I'm not just being paranoid. Security researchers at a firm called Repello actually found a very serious vulnerability. They figured out how to use a technique called indirect prompt injection to trick an anti-gravity agent into stealing sensitive data. I'm talking API keys, environment variables, and sending it all to an attacker.
So what in the world is indirect prompt injection? Well, think of it like hiding a secret malicious message inside of something that looks totally safe, like the documentation file in a public GitHub repository. When you ask the AI agent to read that file, it gets tricked into executing those hidden commands as if they came from you. Here's how this crazy attack actually goes down. It starts with you making a totally innocent request, like asking the agent to integrate some new library. But hidden inside that library's code are instructions that trick the agent. It then silently reads your secret .env file, grabs your API keys, and sends that stolen data off to a hacker's server. It's frighteningly effective. Okay, that sounds scary, but here's the good news. You can protect yourself. First, disable turbo mode. It lets agents run commands without asking you first, which is fast, but way too risky if you're working with code you don't trust. Second, and this is just good practice anyway, always review external code before you let an agent touch it. And finally, use the built-in security settings to create allow lists of safe commands or deny lists to block dangerous ones. All right, after all that, let's just zoom out for a second. We've seen the power, we've seen the process, and we have definitely seen the perils. So what does this whole agent-first thing really mean for the future of building software?
What we're really looking at here is a fundamental paradigm shift. We're moving on from AI-assisted programming, where AI just helps us type a little faster. We're entering an era of AI-native development. In this new world, developers start acting less like bricklayers, focusing on every single line of code, and more like architects. Focusing on the high-level design, solving the really hard problems, and reviewing the work of their AI team.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. A question for you, really. If agents are writing more and more of the actual code, what do we write? Is it the high-level plans, the custom skills that make our agents unique, or is it the security guardrails to keep everything safe? That's the future that Antigravity is asking all of us to start building right now. Thanks for exploring it with us.